find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Catherine.
And I'm Haley.
And we are Saturdays Are For the Ghouls, a podcast on the Podmoth Network. We cover all things spooky, like horror movies, true crime, the supernatural, and spooky stories, in the most chaotic way possible. So join your favorite ghoul friends every Saturday wherever you listen to podcasts. And become a spooky babe! So spooky babes, we'll see you in your nightmares!
Ha ha ha. Merry Christmas. Wait.
We're recording the Christmas episode, right? That's why you brought me back?
Yeah. Welcome back to Anything Bones Christmas episode. Darrin, have you been a good boy or a bad boy?
I think I've been a good bad boy.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That means you get a bone made of coal from Santa.
So like a fossil?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You get a fossil, which seems like more than you deserve. Unironically, guys, I actually was on weed last night. Katelyn. And was like, you know what I need is Christmas stockings for my motherfucking pets. So
Yes.
Minnie and Alice have little Christmas stockings on their way right now.
Oh my goodness.
White stockings with a little paw print and their name on it in red.
Oh my goodness.
Cute.
Customized
Cute.
dog stocking.
Yeah. See, I got stockings for Chris and I, and then was like, oh, I should have got something for the pets. And he was like, yeah, you should have. And I was like, oh, shit. But we're not actually in Christmas time. It's Halloween.
Halloween.
I did something spooky.
Yes, do tell.
I went to the Oddities and Curiosities exposition recently, which is like a traveling spooky market that goes like town to town. 10 out of 10 for all the spooky vendors. We got a lot of weird art. And then my friend and I got tarot card readings.
Ooh. What did you find out about your future?
Well, so she got her own reading, and then Chris and I did a joint reading.
A joint reading?
Ayo.
Darrin made a gesture of marijuana usage.
Made a weed gesture.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Mom. But so my friend's reading was like very in-depth, like good advice. And then we get to the person next to this reader who immediately starts off with like, I've been here too long. Like, I'm very tired. And I was like, okay. And like the reading was fine. Like the gist of it was like, you guys are great. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But it was like less than 5 minutes. We paid for an extended reading. And there was nothing like specific at all. And I know that those aren't typically super specific, but I was just like, this could be anybody's reading. And she said twice how tired and done she was for the day. I was like, thanks.
I don't know if you've got the sight.
I don't know. It seems like you're too sleepy for the sight right now.
Yeah, you need to close that third eye and go Betty bye.
But it reminded me, the only other time I've been, done any kind of like tarot card, palm reading, anything was in Seaside, Oregon.
Woo.
On spring break. And Darrin was there with me.
It's true.
And the only thing that is memorable from the reading, because it was like 10 years ago at this point, was that she told me I drowned in a previous life.
Jeez.
I want to say it was like Victorian. Like
there was something about the Victorian era. Like,
yeah.
But I was really hoping that Darrin would remember any other details other than that, because my memory is shit.
Yeah, it's let me scratch on it for a second. Like, I mean, it was such a little stall or like a little building just kind of on the main drag. I think it cost $20, which we all thought was crazy.
I'm sure.
Probably a steal in this economy.
That's what the tarot card readings at the expo were. It was $20 for basic, $25 for extended.
See, in this economy, that feels fine.
Yeah. Unless your medium is tired, but continue.
Yeah, but in the 2014, mid to late Obama era, like that was some money.
Exorbitant.
It was a peaceful, breezy living there. Like, Jesus.
I remember just trying to like take it seriously, like trying not to like laugh too much at the stuff she was saying.
Yeah.
It certainly didn't seem like it was a very busy day for her. This was like probably a Saturday, like late morning, early afternoon, like during spring break.
The only ones in there.
Well, then she probably had more psychic energy to give you than the woman who's been doing it on the con floor all day.
Yeah, exactly. If only I could remember, or if only Darrin could remember, quite frankly.
Frankly.
But Katelyn, a Victorian who died by drowning?
Maybe.
Do you know who that could be?
Who?
Anyone on the Titanic.
I guess, yeah.
Late Victorian, yeah.
Well, Edwardian, early 1900s, whatever.
Yeah. You get it. My first thought, I remember being like, oh, I just had a flash memory. She said something like, I can see your head being pushed underwater.
Right.
Something like that.
Were you murdered?
Yeah. In a previous life.
Oh my God. Caitlin, that's huge.
This is a huge breakthrough.
This is a huge development. We gotta find this case.
We gotta go back to Seaside.
Someone was murdered on the Titanic.
That's the perfect crime.
Oh my God, but what if there was a movie about someone who did do a murder on the Titanic just at the last minute? They were like, all hell's going down. I hate Timothy. Let's go.
How would anyone know? The musicians turn on each other.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, there's some things from the wreck of the Titanic that are like still intact down there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the swimming pool still has water in it.
Darrin.
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Just come up with that?
No, I saw that somewhere.
Okay. I was about to be like, that's some good shit, Darrin.
That is funny, though.
It's a good joke, though. It's a good joke.
That is a good joke.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
Unless the swimming pool is disintegrated into the floor of the ocean.
I don't even know if the Titanic had a swimming pool.
It did. It definitely did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm confident. Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back for part 2.
This episode covers none of these topics that we've been talking about, but it is the second part of our lovely episode with Darrin, where Katelyn explores one of Seattle's most sinister killers. All right, at your lead, Katelyn.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back for one final spooky bony tale, and I'm going to bring up the rear.
Oh, God.
With my spooky story. You can cut that out.
Not a chance.
No. Okay. So my sources for this one this week were a video from this guy who has like, it's like a travel website, but it's called Explore Always. Pretty good. And then an article from the Smithsonian Magazine, History Link, and then the Digital Archives of Washington State.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to be talking about Linda Hazzard, who thought she was a doctor, but she was not.
No.
So there's a huge, huge trigger warning up top here for a lot of discussion about disordered eating and starvation. So if that's not something that you're able to listen to today, I bid you adieu.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, exactly. So Linda Hazzard was born Linda Burfield in Carver County, Minnesota in 1867. She married a man named Irwin Perry when she was 18 and had 2 children. But she decided to leave them behind pretty quickly and moved to Minneapolis in 1898 to open her own practice, where she was a big proponent of fasting.
I'm just going to say this up top so that we get this out of the way. I know who this woman is, and I hate this bitch.
Yeah, I'm also aware of her and her shenanigans.
She is a nightmare. Oh, open your message. I sent you a picture of her haunted ass face.
Oh, God.
Haunted.
She's terrible. Yeah, but I guess she said peace out to her family.
Yeah, there is no mention of her children ever again in this story, so I assume she left them behind as well. Which they are probably better off without her, I'll be honest.
I was going to say, honestly, for the best.
Yeah. So it appears that because this is an old story, so there's not a lot of like solid records, but it appears that she kills her first quote unquote patient in about 1902, and the coroner determined that death was caused by starvation. This is in Minneapolis. He tries to get her like arrested, but because she doesn't actually have a license to practice medicine, she's not charged because the quote-unquote patient is a willing participant, and she doesn't have a license to revoke or to... So she's not, like, governed by any agency, so, like, it's fine.
It's like manslaughter at worst.
Yeah, but they're just like, no, it's fine. It's 1902. Just do what you will.
Ugh.
It should have been manslaughter, though, because they died.
Yeah, continuing. So, in 1903, she marries a man, Samuel Hazzard, where she's going to get the name, Linda Hazzard. He is a West Point graduate with a history of drinking and swindling. That's what one of my sources said here. So they go to get married, and oh, shoot, he's actually been married twice before, and the last one didn't actually result in a divorce, so... He goes to jail for 2 years for bigamy.
Bigamy. Yeah, that's way more important than manslaughter.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad that out of the 2 of them, the one that's serving time is the one that has been married
bigamist.
A couple times. Yeah, not the murderer.
So after he serves his sentence, it's about 1907, and they're like, let's get out of here because we need to go to Washington.
Hey!
We're going to find out that the reason they go to Washington is because of their lax rules about who is a doctor and who is not.
Oh, very cool.
Very Wild West.
Yep. Linda had authored several books, which apparently made her an expert.
Great.
One of them was called Fasting for the Cure of Disease. Not even like a interesting title. She had a little bit of training as an osteopathic nurse, which osteo, I believe, is bone.
Yeah.
But she was insistent to anybody that asked, because she gets media attention for all this. She would be like, this is a quote from eventually when she's in her trial. She says to a reporter, quote, I have told you... let me get more into character here.
Yes.
I have told you time and time again, it is Dr. Hazzard. Mrs. Hazzard is my mother-in-law.
Oh, okay, bitch.
All right.
All right.
So she's in Washington because there's a loophole in the law that grandfathers in practitioners of alternative medicine, even if the doctor doesn't have any type of schooling or degree.
I love how even 100 years ago that just doesn't sound like real medicine.
It's really not. Like, she says that she studied under all these, like, masters, but, I mean, they're all just kind of saying, like, hey, just, like, fast for a month and a half and it'll cure any disease. And we're going to come to find out that really, truly doesn't work.
Yeah, and I mean, the time that Katelyn's talking about, the early 1900s, late 1800s, was kind of very fast and loose for who could say that they were a doctor.
The Wild West of being a doctor.
Particularly in Washington.
Particularly in Washington.
Because she literally had a license in Washington. because of this loophole.
This is wild. Please continue with her chicanery.
So she adopted a lot of practices from other, proponents of this, and she had a little something extra. I'm not sure y'all are ready for it. Part of her treatment included daily enemas that went on for hours.
What?
Hours?
Hours of enemas?
Sometimes when I think about the world before the internet and how people were probably like a lot harder to get bored.
Yeah.
That just kind of strikes me as one of those. It's like, yeah, I can just have an enema for 4 hours, and that's just kind of what I'm doing.
That's my day.
Bored.
Well, it's like we were so still like we're in the heroic era of medicine where people are trying some like absolutely wild shit, like with different catheters and like, like studying the veins and studying surgery. And like some of these buck wild practices would come to become the foundations of surgery today. And some of them were just bullshit. This is just bullshit.
She was a snake oil salesman.
Like, this is...
She wasn't even selling oil. She was selling the lack of something.
She was selling eat nothing and clean out your butt so bad.
Well, part 3, the third part where she made it her own, was this, like, massage element. But it was mostly just her beating her fists against, quote-unquote, their foreheads and backs. What? One witness reported her, like, massaging this patient, screaming, "Eliminate! Eliminate!"
Like a Dalek.
Just punching them in the face, being like, "Sickness, be gone!"
Unfortunately, people were buying it. People were like, so she's practicing in Seattle, and then she gets the wild idea to build this giant sanitarium in a town nearby Seattle. You have to take a ferry to get there. It's called Olalla.
Not heard of Olalla.
Olalla. You will. You'll know it well after this. So that's where she buys like 40 acres of land, and she's going to build her like sanitarium is what she calls it.
Oh, great.
So some of the people that embraced her cure-all were actually like pretty members of high society in Seattle. And so they got, when they would be brought under her care and then eventually die, it made news, it made headlines. One of her first like known victims in Washington was named Daisy Maud Haglund.
Great name.
Yeah. Who died after a 50-day fast under Linda Hazzard's direction in February 1908. She was only 38 years old. Does anyone know who her son was?
It's the Ivar's
It's
fish bar
Ivor.
people. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So Ivar's is this very famous like chain in Seattle of like, it's a fish and chowder place. Delicious.
Acres of clams.
Acres of clams.
Ivor, who like started the business, his mom was one of Linda Hazzard's first known victims in Washington.
Jeez.
Which is so wild because there's a giant Ivar's on like the waterfront. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so her parents owned Alki Point.
Really?
Yeah. So this is not nobody in society. So
yeah.
This is unfortunately what the pattern ends up becoming.
Wait.
They owned a neighborhood.
That's what it says. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Or the beach. Anyway.
The beach.
So this was...
Who can own a beach? It's like a horse. Can't really be out.
So basically what her shtick was, she would put people up in hotels in Seattle or like apartments, and then slowly but surely she was building like little cabins in Olalla on the property for her sanitarium. And she would give these people treatment wherever she would commute back and forth. She was all over the goddamn state. And she was treating people, doing the starvation, which like they were only allowed to have like 1 or 2 bowls of like vegetable broth a day. And then the enemas and the massage. And then when these people would die, their autopsies would report that the cause of deaths cause of death was starvation, unless she did the autopsy and did the death certificate and everything, in which case the cause of death was whatever she wanted.
Great.
Either way, she sucks, because it's either she cures the people of what she doesn't cure them, but they die of starvation instead of the thing that they were sick from, or they just die from the thing she was trying to cure them of.
Oh, but then she's like, oh, well, they were just too sick. So the starvation actually extended their life expectancy, but they were going to die either way. And,
Great.
Just because me and my husband are now executors of their estate and we're taking all their money has nothing to do with it. That's how they're paying for treatment. That's legit. No. This is where I get a little pissed off. So she's licensed in Washington.
Ugh.
The health director of Seattle said that he couldn't do anything about this.
How is that possible?
Yeah. He said because she's licensed and people are willing participants, he's going to keep an eye on things because she's not allowed to treat any children. That's where the health director of Seattle draws the line.
Great.
Because they're willing adults.
Wow.
It's okay, apparently.
I feel like that's a really big red flag, though.
Yeah. So this is like, there are newspaper articles from that time calling her out, saying her practices are bullshit. And she responds to this, like, outrage with writing articles of her own about how her cure-all is amazing. She said, oh, this is great. Quote, after stating that in her 11 years of practice, only 9 patients had been lost, she says, what doctor can show a record such as that? When a physician administers a drug and his patient dies in 20 minutes, nothing is said. But when one of my charges dies, there's a great stir. Regular doctors hate me because I have a new method and they abhor anything new.
Doctors hate this one simple trick.
Just don't eat.
Patients to death.
Just don't eat. An enema for hours at a time and let me punch you in the face.
What's the word again?
Eliminate!
Eliminate! We're laughing, but like...
It's awful. You have to laugh to keep from crying.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can you imagine you're sick already? And then this woman is like, starving you will definitely work. And because you're being starved, you're weakened and you're vulnerable and you're already sick. And so, like, you're just getting weaker and sicker. And this woman won't give you food.
And apparently she was very, like, she had this very, like, hypnotizing presence. She was very good at talking these people into doing this. And some of them must have been scared of her, but a lot of them just thought that she knew what was best.
She had to be charismatic as fuck, because how else could she have gotten people into this?
There is one, like, victim, quote unquote, allegedly shot himself under her care, but nothing was ever done about it.
Not a medical issue.
Apparently, he did it to himself, they said, so I guess it's...
There you go.
Yeah. But, of course, I would be remiss if I talked about Linda Hazzard and didn't talk about the Williamson sisters. So these are her, like, most famed patients. The Williamson sisters are British sisters named Claire and Dorothea. Dorothea also goes by Dora sometimes, like Dora the Explorer. So they are orphan daughters of an English army officer who had just a butt ton of money. And they first saw an ad for Linda Hazzard's, like, book and then her philosophy and then the sanatorium when they were staying at the Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. So the two of them were not, like, truly ill, one would say, but they were very, very much hypochondriacs. Dorothea said that she had swollen glands and rheumatic pains, so, like, joint pain.
Okay.
And Claire had been told that she had a dropped uterus.
What does that mean?
Unclear.
Dropped where? Did she find it?
And allegedly they had given up meat and corsets, which great, like, do that in an attempt to improve their health.
Becoming a vegetarian and choosing a looser, fashions. I stopped there, ladies.
That would have been great. They probably would have solved a lot more problems than were created by this.
Exactly.
So they're hooked. As soon as they see this ad, they're like, sign us up. So they pack up and go to Seattle. They get there in 1911, and they were pretty disappointed to find out that the sanitarium wasn't quite ready to go yet. They were still, like, building it. So they get set up in an apartment in Capitol Hill, which apparently this apartment building is still standing to this day.
Oh, that's so cool.
This is where Linda begins their treatment. They get this, like, broth twice a day, enemas, massages, the works.
The enemas really get me.
Like, why? Why, though?
Like, and here's the thing. I'm an eating disorder survivor, and the enemas are getting me here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like.
It's upsetting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So uncomfortable and just damaging to your insides.
Yeah. So by the time the Williamsons move from this apartment in Capitol Hill to the sanitarium 2 months later, they were about 70 pounds each. And because they had many family members that didn't typically, like, approve of their alternative medicine theories, they hadn't told anybody where they were. So nobody had any idea what was happening until their childhood nurse named Margaret gets a telegram in Australia.
Okay.
It's either a telegram or a letter, I'm not sure. But it doesn't make any sense to her. She's very worried. I think it was from Dorothea, or it could have been from Claire. I can't actually remember now. So she is so worried by this letter or telegram that she gets on a boat to go to, like, Olalla. Which probably was a months-long journey from Australia to North America.
And I can't imagine taking that trip, like, that's the fastest you can get
That's
there.
it. And you're just stuck on that boat.
You're so worried the whole time. Or I would be.
So Sam Hazzard meets Margaret when she arrives on the boat. He tells her that, so sorry, Margaret, actually, Claire is dead now, and Dora is insane.
One of the worst case scenarios.
Yeah. So they go to the Butterworth Mortuary, which have all of us been there. It's a bar now.
Is it Kells?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you talked about that on a very early...
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
We did kind of touch on this in an episode with Fern, like way, way back at the beginning.
Yeah, because it was like run by a woman too, wasn't it?
That sounds right, yeah. So they go to the Butterworth Mortuary, and they see Claire's body, and it doesn't look anything like her. She's very emaciated, but then Margaret thought that it was just like a totally different person. She honestly didn't even recognize her. They bring Margaret to the sanitarium. Dora is now down to about 50 pounds, but still can't quite be convinced to leave. Linda has been appointed the executor of Claire's estate. She's been appointed Dora's guardian. They've signed over power of attorney to the husband, and then they've just helped themselves to all of their belongings, including their clothes and diamonds, sapphires, and other jewels. It's said that one time Margaret and Dr. Hazzard met, and Margaret recognized Linda's dress as something that belonged to Claire. Like, what the fuck?
These people are literal leeches.
Oh, completely. They're just doing it for money. I don't think there's any... I struggle to believe that she even... Maybe she could convince herself that this was helping people, or that this was right, but at the end of the day, they were just helping themselves to people's money and their estates.
I mean, they can't have good intentions if they are helping themselves to their money. Like, a good doctor would not do that. Like, even if you had... I don't know. It's just like... It assures to me that she has nefarious motives because of what she does after.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not how any healthcare professional in any field operates.
Nope.
Not even at that time.
Not even at that time, yeah.
So Margaret, thank God, writes a letter to the Williamson sisters' uncle, John Herbert, who lives in Portland, Oregon. What's up?
Hell yeah.
He comes rushing up from Portland, and then he has to haggle with Linda and Samuel about how much it's going to cost to let them, free Dora and release her to the family.
So now they're ransoming back.
Oh, yeah.
The 50-pound woman.
Yeah. Some sources say they ended up paying them $1,000. Some say $2,000.
I mean, and that's a fuck ton in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Or early 1900s.
So finally, alarm bells are raised where charges can be brought. Like, everybody knew this was going on, but finally they bring up charges, and she gets arrested on August 15th, 1911. She's charged for first-degree murder for Claire Williamson's death. And her trial was just this crazy media spectacle, as they always are.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So people were lying out the door to hear testimonials from, like, servants and other people that had been around about how the sisters cried during their whole treatment. They were obviously in pain. The jury was also able to look at forged checks, letters, and other evidence of fraud that showed that Linda and Samuel had just emptied as much of the Williamsons' estate as they could.
And, like, how could they fight them back? Because, like, starvation doesn't just, like, dwindle down your body, it dwindles down your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not getting the nutrients you need to be able to process information.
For sure.
You're in, like, a fog. You're so easily manipulated in that state.
So there are rumors at this time, and this is never proven, but kind of what I was saying earlier, there were rumors that Linda Hazzard was in league with the Butterworth mortuary and either like had switched Claire's body for somebody else that looked healthier, or possibly like had deals with them to get rid of people that died on her property, like things like that. So that was never actually proven, but it was alleged.
Wow.
Linda Hazzard never took any responsibility for anyone or anything. The jury deliberated and did give her a charge of manslaughter. She was sentenced to hard labor in Walla Walla, Washington, and her license was revoked. But a few years later, not even she only served about 2 years in jail before the governor pardoned her, and then she was able to get out.
Okay.
She never got
Great.
a license again, but she was pardoned and let out after 2 years. Even though she was convicted of manslaughter.
Did she continue doing her terrible business afterwards?
Yes.
Oh, God.
So she weirdly has a lot of fans in New Zealand at that time. So she goes to New Zealand for a while.
How?
Everybody's like, okay, we don't want you here anyway. Just go to New Zealand and stay there. But a bitch comes back to Washington in 1920. She goes back to Olalla and is trying to build her sanitarium again, calling it a school for health. That's what she called it.
Somebody snatch this woman up in a giant butterfly net and don't let her out.
Unfortunately, this is 1920 when she comes back. Her school is in practice until 1935 when it mysteriously burns down. And then the ultimate justice, Linda Hazzard fell ill in her early 70s and decided to do a fast of her own, which killed her.
See, this is the thing about her that is so fascinating to me. Because
she start buying her own sauce?
Seems like it.
Yeah, because I feel like with these earlier treatments, she's in it for the money. But then somewhere along the way, she's bought into herself.
Yeah. So it's totally unclear how many victims she actually has across her whole time of practicing medicine, heavily in quotes. But it was at least a dozen people, probably more, that died under her care.
Jesus Christ. I mean, she's a serial killer.
She's purported to be one of Washington's first female serial killers.
Let's go, ladies.
Linda Hazzard. It's not even her last name is Hazzard. I don't think we spent enough time talking about that.
Yeah, she
married into that, for sure. She was like, hell yeah, I'm going to live up to that.
Darrin, what is it called? An aptonym?
That's correct, yeah.
Where your name fits you as a person.
Mm-hmm. Like Sophie's last name is Schwartz, which means black, and she wears a lot of black.
Yeah! I love it. It makes me feel like I'm a character out of a book.
Sorry, can I make a bad joke? I just think we always need more women in STEM, in serial killing, torture, assassinations, and medical malpractice.
Oh my god.
That's
very good.
Wait. That's not stem. That's stam.
Stam.
Eviscerations instead of
Evisceration. Yeah, I like that.
I love
Eliminations.
yeah. Eliminations. It
Elimination.
Eliminate.
Eliminate. Oh my god.
All right. Serial killings, torture, eliminations, and medical malpractice.
Oh my god.
Yes, exactly.
Woof.
Yeah, woof. I mean, and she's like just one chain in a long line of doctors who are like after the money.
Yeah.
Dr. Shipman, Dr. Death,
That's right. Yeah.
who killed like maybe like as many as like 200 people and was caught because he like made a faulty will from this one woman and was like taking all her shit in her houses.
Yeah.
But like it's so fascinating that Linda Hazzard essentially killed herself in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think that she thought it was legit all along. Maybe, but I think it was more sinister. I don't know. It's a lot, man. She wrote a book, and I don't know if I could read the whole thing, but yeah, I'd be curious to know more about her mindset.
But I feel like she's not as well known as like other serial killers, and I feel like she's a very fascinating personality in the Pacific Northwest.
Definitely more well known in Washington. I had not heard of her before living there.
Same.
Well, thanks so much for coming back, Darrin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It feels good to ask after so long of not having a guest on this podcast. What is your favorite bone?
Oh, man.
Today. It doesn't have to be all time.
Today. Well,
Today.
I know. I don't remember what I've answered the previous 3 times.
Us neither.
So...
It's fine.
Yeah. No. You know what? I'm going to go with... what is it? You know what? I've just been really thankful for my ribs lately.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
And you know what's really cool about the ribs? You can play them like a xylophone.
Heyo. That's very Halloween and spooky.
Exactly.
Oh, man. That was crazy. He just pulled up his skin and played his ribs like a xylophone.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging in with us. You know, the spooky season cometh, so you better watch out for ghoulies and goblins, okay?
I don't want any ghoulies.
Keep those bones safe. Keep them to yourself. If you liked our podcast, please consider giving us a rating on the platform that you're listening to it on, or leave a review. Go check us out on Instagram. And as always,
Bone
Voyage.
Ghoulies!
goblins.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter,
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
at Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Did the Titanic have a Lido deck?
What is a Lido deck?
I don't know, but it's a thing on cruise ships. It's like the I want to say it's like the deck that's covered, but has like a glass roof. So it's sort of like, you know, if it happens to be bad weather, you can go get there and like get some light. The Lido deck. I don't know. I've been on one cruise and I just remember it being the Lido deck.
Yeah, so definitely confirmed there was a swimming pool in the Titanic. And then what's a Lido deck?
Yeah. Equally important research.
Mm-hmm.
LIDO.
Yeah. This is from AI Overview. It's a public space on a cruise ship that features outdoor pools, dining and drinking areas, and other amenities.
Oh, it's the open air deck, not
It's
the
just
covered
like,
deck.
yeah, I think so.
Then they definitely had one, probably.
Everybody on a cruise is on the Lido deck all the time then.
Mm-hmm.
We were born on the Lido deck and we'll die on the
We
Lido
died.
deck. Yeah.
You got drowned in the Lido deck.
Oh, God! We did do an episode where I talked about cruise ship deaths, and people have been murdered on cruise ships, so. Could happen.
Yeah.
I think,
Anyway.
I think falling overboard on a cruise ship and having no one notice and then just watching the ship drive away is maybe one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. One of the best things that I learned in that episode that I remember to this day is that they are obligated to stop and turn around and get you. And that, like, you can stop a giant cruise ship. It's very easy. You just have to dive over the side.
The thing that sticks out from that episode for me is that cruise ships have to have a morgue.
Yeah. Just
Or
in
at least
case.
a space that can function as a morgue.
Yeah, because in the past they haven't, and they needed it. Yeah, go
You
check
are
out that
at
episode.
sea.
Unless you want a burial at sea, which would be incredibly convenient.